There's a side of every man he refuses to admit exists. It's not the version he posts online, not the one that sits quietly in church, or the one that speaks with logic and self-control. It's the one that watches from behind the eyes, primal, impulsive, and unashamed. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the buried aspect of your psyche that holds everything you've been conditioned to hide. And nothing exposes that hidden side faster than lust. Because lust isn't just physical attraction. It's the body's confession of the soul's secrets. It's the mirror that reflects not who you think you are, but everything you've suppressed, feared, and pretended to outgrow. When a man feels lust, he's not seeing a woman. He's seeing his unconscious, dressed in the form that tempts him most. She becomes the image through which his shadow speaks. That's why lust feels so dangerous. It strips away control, pride, and logic, the very things the ego clings to. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Lust is one of those directions. You don't choose who draws you in. It's your own psyche pulling you towards something you've disowned. The disciplined man craves the woman who's wild and free because she embodies the chaos he's exiled from his life. The cold and rational man falls for the one who burns with emotion because she represents the warmth he's denied himself. Every desire is a reflection of what's missing within you. And until you realize that, you'll chase women who mirror your wounds instead of your worth. Look closely, and you'll see the same story repeated across myths and scripture. Eve and the apple, the sirens who lured sailors to their deaths, the succubus who visits men in the night. Every story of temptation is symbolic, not about women, but about men confronting the forbidden within themselves. Lust has always been the stage where man meets his shadow. The forbidden fruit wasn't evil, it was knowledge. It was the awareness of what we are capable of when the mask falls. And that's what most men fear, not the woman, not the temptation, but what she awakens in them. Lust doesn't corrupt you, it reveals you. It exposes the parts of yourself you swore you buried, the desire for dominance, the hunger for freedom, the craving to feel alive beyond moral restraint. But instead of facing that revelation, men project it outward. They point fingers, they blame women, they moralize sex, because it's easier than confronting what lust says about them. Projection is how the ego hides from its own reflection. You see her beauty, her danger, her confidence. But those are your qualities, unclaimed and unexpressed. That's why the obsession grows. The more you suppress your wildness, the more your mind finds it in others. Lust becomes the unconscious shouting, "This is what you could be if you stopped pretending to be safe." You don't want her body as much as you want the freedom her energy represents. You don't want her chaos, you want permission to feel your own. This is why lust can enslave the undisciplined and enlighten the awakened. The same energy that leads one man to destroy his life can lead another to discover his truth. It's all in how you interpret the mirror. If you view lust as evil, you fight it. If you view it as information, you study it. That's the first step toward mastery. Seeing desire not as temptation, but as revelation. The shadow doesn't emerge to ruin you. It comes to show you where you're incomplete. It's your psyche's way of saying, "Look here. This is where you've denied your own power." Every man thinks he fears losing control, but what he truly fears is realizing how much power he suppressed trying to maintain control. Lust unmasks that. It's raw energy, unrefined, unfiltered, and honest. It shows you your real appetites, for power, for pleasure, for validation, for danger. And that's why the ego panics. Because the shadow doesn't ask for approval, it demands acknowledgement. Jung believed that integration, not denial, was the path to wholeness. To integrate lust means to accept that desire isn't the enemy, unconsciousness is. The goal isn't to kill the shadow, but to confront it until it stops controlling you from the dark. Lust reveals what you fear most because it shows you where you've placed your deepest energy and how much of yourself you've kept locked away. It's not the naked body that seduces you, it's the naked truth of who you are beneath the armor. Most men run from that reflection their entire lives, seeking pleasure to avoid pain, chasing bodies to fill voids. But those who stop running, who stare into the mirror of lust with awareness, begin to see its real message. Lust isn't asking you to sin, it's asking you to wake up. In the alchemy of lust, you'll be taken deep into the ancient and forgotten discipline of sexual transmutation, a principle once reserved for monks, warriors, kings, and creators. The man who has faced his lust and lived to understand it walks differently. His eyes carry stillness, not suppression. His energy no longer leaks through restlessness, addiction, or empty conquest. He's seen the part of himself most men run from, and he's not afraid of it anymore. This is where the real transformation begins. Carl Jung said the purpose of life is not to become good, but whole. And wholeness requires you to integrate what you've rejected, to turn the same force that once controlled you into something that obeys your will. Lust isn't meant to be killed, it's meant to be converted. Like fire, it will destroy you if left wild, but if contained, it will forge you into something indestructible. When a man finally stops fighting his desire, he starts studying it. That's when the shadow begins to yield its secrets. Lust is not random, it's coded. Each temptation points toward a missing element in your psyche. Ask yourself, what does this desire represent? If you crave a woman's wildness, maybe your life has become too structured, too cold, too predictable. If you're drawn to her dominance, maybe your own masculine confidence has gone dormant. Lust is the psyche's way of showing you the energy you've lost touch with. It's not the woman you're after. It's the version of yourself that she symbolizes. The mistake most men make is trying to possess the mirror instead of becoming the reflection. Transmutation begins the moment you stop reaching outward. When you pull that energy inward, everything changes. You move from consumption to creation. Jung understood libido as psychic energy, not limited to sex, but the force behind all ambition, all creation, all drive. What you do with it defines who you become. The same lust that enslaves the weak man fuels the world's most powerful creators, leaders, and warriors. They've learned to redirect that energy, from chasing bodies to building empires, from obsession with pleasure to obsession with purpose. This is what ancient mystics called sexual alchemy, turning instinct into intention. Picture the disciplined artist who channels his sexual frustration into his craft. The entrepreneur who uses his attraction to the feminine as inspiration to build wealth and status, not to indulge, but to evolve. The ascetic warrior who masters his impulses, not because he fears desire, but because he recognizes it as divine energy misplaced. Each of them has done what Jung called integration of the shadow. They don't deny their lust, they've made peace with it, then weaponized it. This is the essence of masculine mastery, to harness chaos without being consumed by it. But understand, this integration is not a one-time enlightenment, it's daily warfare. The shadow doesn't vanish once acknowledged. It watches, waits, and whispers. It tempts you to slip back into old habits, instant gratification, validation seeking, emotional weakness disguised as passion. You'll feel it when you scroll too long, flirt too carelessly, or let your ambition dull. Each time lust calls you, it's not trying to ruin you. It's testing whether you've learned to command your own energy. You're not lazy, you're hijacked. Every scroll designed to keep you docile, addicted, and distracted. Dopamine warfare, reclaiming the mind. This isn't just about quitting porn or deleting apps. This is about taking back command of your nervous system, your focus, your fire. The battle is internal now. Every temptation is an opportunity to reinforce power or to surrender it. The untrained man looks at lust and sees pleasure. The awakened man looks at lust and sees potential. This is what separates the kings from the slaves. Because to master desire is to master self. Your energy, sexual, emotional, creative, is your currency. Every time you indulge without awareness, you spend it foolishly. Every time you redirect it toward creation, you multiply it. Lust, when transmuted, becomes momentum. The body wants release. The spirit wants purpose. When you merge both, you enter the realm of what Jung called individuation, the birth of your true self, forged from the union of your light and your dark. Integration also means owning your darkness without guilt. That means acknowledging your capacity for lust, power, manipulation, even destruction, not to act on it recklessly, but to stop pretending it isn't there. Men who deny their darkness become controlled by it. Men who face it become dangerous in the right way, calmly powerful. You can sense it in their presence. They don't chase, they attract. They don't lust after beauty, they embody it through discipline. This is the quiet authority of a man who has turned his shadow into an ally. But the highest level of integration goes beyond control. It's harmony. It's when lust no longer feels like temptation, but like fuel. When attraction doesn't shake your focus, but sharpens it. You begin to see the feminine not as a test to resist, but as a reflection to learn from. You can appreciate beauty without being enslaved by it. You can feel desire without losing direction. That's when lust transforms from a chain into a compass. It no longer leads you astray. It leads you deeper into yourself. Lust reveals what you fear most because it shows you what you have yet to integrate. Most men fear the parts of themselves that are most alive. They fear their own fire, but you can't ascend while rejecting your nature. The goal is not to be pure, it's to be whole. When you own both your light and your shadow, desire becomes devotion. It's no longer about conquest or escape. It's about connection between mind and instinct, discipline and desire, heaven and hell. That's when you stop being torn between who you want to be and who you really are. You become aligned. And that's the hidden truth Jung understood. Enlightenment doesn't come from running toward the light. It comes from walking into the darkness with your eyes open. Lust is not the enemy of the soul. It's the key to understanding it. Because what you desire most is often what you're most afraid to claim. And once you confront that fear, once you integrate what was buried, you unlock a level of calm, focus, and magnetism that no external pleasure can match. So don't pray for your lust to die. Refine it, study it, discipline it. Let it show you where your power has been sleeping. Because the moment you stop fearing your shadow, you stop being divided against yourself. And a man who is no longer divided, who has faced his lust, his fear, and his fire, becomes something the world can no longer control. he becomes whole. He becomes free. Thus remember, we are Indecepta. Becoming Indecepta is the code they never wanted you to learn. A psychological war map for men, forbidden teachings fused with modern strategy for influence, dominance, and self-mastery. If you want peace, prepare for war.